What is going on, fam? It's your boy, Mr. Banks, going to teach you how to trade SPY or any kind of ticker the right way. But I want to specifically focus on SPY today and the puts that we took for FOMC. Now, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of the educational content I put out on a daily basis. So, welcome, guys. Today, we are going to go over an actual live trade taken. I know a lot of people like to do hindsight and go back over, well, we could have taken trades here, we could have taken trades here. No, I always like to do live trade recaps of real trades that were actually taken because that's the only way to trade. It's not in hindsight, it's real time. So we'll be going over a live trade taken today, how to find levels. Very important because I know that's a big question that a lot of people have, and time frames to know. So first, let's go over the time frames to know. The first one's the best time frames to know for the big levels, guys. We always want to know our big supply and demand and work our way down. We always want to zoom out and work our way down to entry levels, right? So the big levels we always should be looking at pretty much on a daily basis is starting with the daily time frame. Now, I am going to give you guys an actual chart here in just a second, so just bear with me. But the levels we want to find is on the daily, the 4-hour, and the 1-hour. If you guys are in my group or have watched my videos, you know I really love the 1-hour to find levels. But to look at the overall picture, guys, supply and demand, as well as our support and resistances, we need to be looking at the three big ones: the daily, the 4-hour, and the 1-hour, right? These will give you your major zones, as well as your major trend lines and support and resistances. So always zoom out and look at the bigger picture. I think a lot of traders get messed up on these smaller time frames. Now, while I use the smaller time frames like the 5-minute and the 2-minute for entries, the bigger time frames will give you that overall picture. Sometimes we get so zoomed in on the smaller time frames that we forget to actually look at what is going on in the bigger picture. We miss out on trades because of this. We also maybe panic sell or sell too early because of this. So always keep looking at the bigger picture, even if we're taking our entries on the 5-minute or 2-minute. I know some people use the 10 or 15, whatever works for you. Specifically, I use the 5 and the 2. But I'm always still looking at that bigger picture, guys. Always look at the daily, 4-hour, 1-hour to see that bigger picture, to see the bigger levels and zones. So today I just want to go over the FOMC trade, live trade taken. As you guys know, I always like to give full examples after we take trades to the group. I am in the Wolves of Wealth. So this last trade was the 410 put today. So why did I take this? What was I looking at? Well, as promised, we're going to start at the daily, right? We're going to start looking at the bigger time frame. So looking at the daily, what do we see here? Well, we see that this 410 is such a major level. I mean, this 410 level is absolutely huge. As we can see here, we had multiple touches of it, multiple bounces off of this, right? Support resistance flip. But not only that, right? This is the beginning of my supply zone, right? This is actually the beginning of my supply zone. So we not only had a big support turn resistance flip, as we can see here, guys, on the daily time frame. This was also the beginning of my major supply zone. As you can see, every time we got into the zone, we had a nice move out of it. But beyond that, guys, why was 410 the beginning of my supply zone? Well, if we just take a look on the daily, we can see there was a major bounce here, right? Major bounces in here, a major bounce in here to the most recent all-time high, as well as the support resistance flip right here for you guys, right? And we could see that this level is a very big level on the daily, this 410 major level. Great. Now we looked at the daily and saw, okay, this 410 is a major level. We see it's a major support, it's a major resistance level. And now we can work our way down to the next time frame. So let's go down to the 4-hour time frame again. Now, if we're looking on the 4-hour, what do we see when it comes to the 410 level? Now, correct. Right out the bat, we can see there was a major support here, right? A major support slash resistance, right? So right about, sorry guys. Right. So we can see, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So even on the 4 hour, right, major bounce off of it. Support, resistance over here. Trying to fight for resistance over here. Support, right? And then today we found that resistance one more time. So guys, we took a look back at that daily. We saw, okay, the 410 is a big level. Now we're getting into a smaller time frame, still the big one, the 4 hour. We can see how big this 410 level is. I mean, we see so many bounces off of this level. We saw a nice resistance over here, and we can see there's a major bounce coming off of this 410. So this 410 level, even in the pre-market here, right? So couple major bounces. We can see this is a major support level. So we're now seeing that on the daily, it was a big support slash resistance flip, also beginning of supply. But now we're seeing on the 4 hour, okay, this 410 is a major level. So going into today, we could see this 410 is a very big level. Now let's go down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's look at the 410 level again. Now, again, it will be very similar to that 1 hour time frame, but we could see here as well, right? Bounce, right? Big bounce off of 410, also around 410 right here, right? Some pretty big bounces around this 410 level, as we could see right here. This 410 is such a major level. I mean, we can see that it was being heavily guarded going into today. There was more supports on it, right? And then there were resistances. So we were saying that every time we came back up, we had some major bounces off of this 410. So we knew that when we got under this 410, or we were pretty weak on the day, more than likely we're probably going to stay under 410 and we're going to keep heading down. So now I just showed you from the daily, 4 hour, and now the 1 hour, how we can see levels and how we can break it down and see what is a major level. Well, I just showed you on the daily from the 4 hour, and now to the 1 hour, how big this 410 level really was going into today. Now let's go down to where our entries are. Now you guys know that I like to take the 2 minute as my entries, but of course I'm looking at the bigger time frames, right, for these levels. Now, going into today, what were we seeing? Well, we could look at the 5 minute. If you guys, I know a lot of people like to use the 5 minute. What was happening today, and where do we take our entry on that put? Well, we could see that we started failing the initial low of the day here, right? We started to get very weak and started failing the initial low of the day. Now, how I like to play FOMC mostly is to wait until Powell stops talking. We usually get a big move after that. Everybody likes to try to play the chop that's happening within Powell, but really when he stops talking, we can get a nice solid direction that comes after he is done talking. So you just need to be patient, stay disciplined, and that's when we can really get our move. Now, we could see this was a pretty big demand zone here, right? A pretty big demand. So we see that bounce and a big move out of it. We saw we came down today on top of this demand over here, right? On top of this demand, and we bounced off of it as well. So we saw that this area right here was a pretty big demand. And what do you know? It is right within our 410 level. But if we keep going back off of this 410 level, I mean, we saw it on the 1 hour, so we're obviously going to see it on the smaller time frames. We had a big bounce around this 410 level here as well. So even on the smaller time frames, guys, we can see that this 410 is such a massive level, 410 level right here. And then we came back up, had a big move off around this 410.30 level. But we could see, right, 410 around 410.30, major level heading back, even on the smaller time frames. So now getting into the actual entry, I like to use the 2 minute entry, 2 minute time frame to get my entries. I think it is a very solid time frame. I don't think it's too small because we're looking at the bigger time frames, right? So when I'm looking at the 2-minute time frame, what am I seeing today? What am I looking at? And why did I take this put entry right here to go over 80% today? Well, I had a couple intraday supply and demand zones. Yes, you heard that right. It's intraday supply and demand zone, guys. When we're looking at the smaller time frames, we could still draw supply and demand zones. We can still draw them. So I had a pretty big, what was once a demand zone, right? On the 2-minute, I had this demand zone drawn, and I had a big level around this 410 60 level. Now, obviously, we have to go back a little bit to see where this level was, but we could see that I had a nice drawing here on this 2-minute at this demand. So we saw on the daily, the 4-hour, the 1-hour, 5-minute, and now the 2-minute. This is a big demand zone, right? Around that 410 to around 410.50, big demand zone that I've had drawn for quite a while now. Oh, it's not going to let me go all the way back, but I've had this level drawn for quite a while now. And as you can see, when you play the same things, you could see big levels. So what was this 410.60 level? We could see on the smaller time frame, it was a heavy support level as well. So we saw that 410 was a big level, but when we're playing down onto our smaller time frames, we could see even more these intraday support and resistance levels. Now I had this 410.60 level drawn for quite a while, for about a week now. And we could see that it's played out pretty heavily. I mean, it was a nice level to get a drawdown here. And we had some nice zones here. So going into today, we were at my level around this 410.60. And when we came back down, right, and we're getting weak, I saw, okay, this demand right here, even if you didn't have this 410.60 level, we knew that this level was a big demand zone. So going into today, right, big demand zone, I'll show you guys one more time, big demand zone, right? When we broke down and we came back into this big demand zone, right, even if you didn't went back, we could have drawn this demand zone today, right? Came down, boom, big demand, headed higher. So once we came back down to the zone, this should have been drawn. And once we saw that we were getting weak and we could not break back above, pretty much failing the low of the day here is when we could have taken puts, right? And this is when we actually took puts. So why do we take this? 410 major level. We were getting very weak and we failed the low of the day here, which was a pretty big demand. Now, this demand is now turning into supply and we're failing this big level. This is exactly where there is a good risk to reward to take a short position. So it came down to my demand level right here, absolutely perfectly. So if we leave one zone, we're more likely going to go enter another zone here, which we saw today. So guys, what I want you guys to get out of this is always look at the daily, the 4-hour, and the 1-hour. Look at your 5 to 2 minute, draw your intraday supply and demand zones, which guys, in the YouTube channel, I have a bunch of videos on how to do the intraday supply and demand zones. But even so, right, we saw that this was a big demand right here and we started failing that demand intraday. A great risk to reward to now take puts on the day. So just want to give a big congratulations. Live trade taken, went through everything for you. Big wins for everyone today. So congratulations to the Wolves for absolutely nailing that put call end of the day. Now, guys, if you have any questions, as always, please, any comments you got, I will see you in the chat. Drop in and I'll be sure to answer them for you. Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate your time. Again, we were feeling a big demand zone here and then failing the low of the day, very weak, which was a great put entry to make it very simple. Demand zone, we break back down under this demand zone. More than likely, this demand is now going to turn into supply, which is exactly what we saw right here. We got weak. We took the puts, made 80%, banked on the day, banked on FOMC. Stay patient until Powell quits talking. I will see you guys next time. I'm Mr. Banks. Let's become great traders together.